the biblical story of Joseph. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our channel. Today, we are diving into one of the most exciting stories in the Bible, the story of Joseph. Get ready for a journey full of dreams, challenges, and triumphs. We'll discover how a young man, sold as a slave, became one of the most important figures in Egypt, showing us all the power of faith and forgiveness. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and leave your like. This way, you stay updated with all our videos and help us continue bringing amazing content to you. Shall we unravel the biblical story of Joseph together? Let's go! In the land of Canaan, Jacob lived with his 12 sons. Among them, Joseph was his favorite, always with his incredible dreams and a coat full of colors. This made the other sons jealous. One night, Joseph had a dream and excitedly told his brothers, "Guys, I had a dream. We were tying bundles of grain in the field, and suddenly, my bundle stood up while your bundles gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brothers were furious and said, "Do you think you will reign over us? Will you really rule us?" And they began to hate Joseph even more because of the dream. Joseph had another dream and told his family, "This time, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." When he told his father and brothers, his father rebuked him. "What is this dream you had? Do you think your mother, your brothers, and I will bow down to you?" Despite the rebuke, Jacob continued to favor Joseph, which only increased his brothers' resentment. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers in the field. When they saw Joseph coming, they planned to kill him. "Here comes that dreamer," they said to each other. "Let's kill him and say a wild animal devoured him." But Reuben, wanting to save Joseph, said, "Let's not take his life. Just throw him into this cistern in the desert, but don't lay a hand on him." He planned to rescue Joseph later and return him to their father. Then some Ishmaelite traders came by. Judah suggested to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother? Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not harm him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." So they sold Joseph, and he was taken to Egypt. When they returned home, the brothers deceived Jacob by showing him Joseph's colorful coat stained with animal blood. They said a wild animal had devoured Joseph. Jacob, heartbroken and full of sorrow, mourned deeply, believing his beloved son Joseph was no more. Jacob was very sad because he loved Joseph so much. Meanwhile, in Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, the captain of Pharaoh's guard. Joseph found himself in a new and strange place, far from his father's love, but he didn't let this bring him down. He was very honest and had special skills given by God. Potiphar soon realized how special Joseph was and put him in charge of his household. Under Joseph's care, everything in Potiphar's house went very well. But Potiphar's wife also noticed Joseph, and not for the same reasons. She tried to seduce him, saying, "Come to bed with me." But Joseph, faithful to his master and to God, refused. "How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" Potiphar's wife was angry at being rejected and lied, saying that Joseph had tried to attack her. Potiphar believed the lie and had Joseph imprisoned. Even in prison, Joseph continued to be noticed for his good character and abilities. The prison warden soon put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners, seeing how he could organize everything. In prison, Joseph began to interpret dreams. 2 of Pharaoh's officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, were imprisoned and had strange dreams. Joseph, with compassion, said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." The chief cupbearer told his dream about pressing wine into Pharaoh's cup. "In my dream, I saw a vine in front of me with 3 branches. Suddenly, flowers appeared and soon turned into clusters of ripe grapes. I had Pharaoh's cup in my hand, took the grapes, and squeezed them into the cup, handing it to Pharaoh." Meanwhile, the chief baker told his dream. He said, "There were 3 baskets of bread on my head. In the top basket, There were various baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating from the basket on my head." Joseph listened and explained, "Your dream, cupbearer, means that in 3 days you will return to your old job and serve Pharaoh again. But baker, your dream means that in 3 days you will be executed." And that is exactly what happened. 3 days later, the cupbearer returned to his position, and the baker was executed. However, the cupbearer forgot about Joseph and said nothing to Pharaoh about him. Joseph remained in prison for 2 years, alone, but always with faith in God and with his gift of interpreting dreams. Then, Pharaoh had a strange dream that none of his wise men could understand. At that moment, the cupbearer remembered Joseph and told Pharaoh about him. Joseph was called and, with much hope and wisdom, listened to Pharaoh tell his dreams. "I dreamed of 7 fat cows being devoured by 7 thin cows and 7 healthy ears of grain being consumed by 7 thin and scorched ears." Joseph, with God's wisdom, explained Pharaoh's dreams. There would be 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine. Joseph suggested that Pharaoh choose a wise man to take care of Egypt. During the 7 years of abundance, they should save 1/5 of all the harvest and store it in cities for the times of famine. Impressed, Pharaoh appointed Joseph as his right-hand man, putting him in charge of preparing Egypt for the famine. Meanwhile, the famine struck the land of Canaan, and Jacob's sons needed food. Hearing that there was grain in Egypt, Jacob sent his sons, except Benjamin, to buy grain. They did not know that the ruler of Egypt was Joseph, the brother they had sold into slavery. When they arrived, Joseph recognized them but did not reveal his identity. He accused them of being spies and asked them to bring Benjamin to prove their innocence. Simeon was kept imprisoned until they returned with Benjamin. When they returned, Joseph organized a banquet and secretly returned the money they had paid for the grain. He also placed his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. After they departed, Joseph sent his steward to search their sacks. When they found the cup in Benjamin's sack, they were brought back to Joseph. Judah pleaded to stay as a slave in place of Benjamin, as Jacob could not bear to lose another son. Seeing his brother's remorse, Joseph was moved. Joseph finally revealed his identity to his brothers, saying, "I am Joseph, the brother you sold into Egypt." They were greatly surprised and afraid, but Joseph reassured them, "Do not be distressed or angry with yourselves for selling me here. It was God who sent me ahead of you to preserve lives." Joseph invited his family to live in Egypt, where he could care for them during the years of famine. The brothers returned to Canaan with the news, and after some hesitation, Jacob agreed to move to Egypt with the entire family. When Jacob finally reunited with Joseph, it was a moment of great joy. Joseph's family settled in Egypt, and Joseph continued to thrive, fulfilling God's promise. He forgave his brothers and said, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Joseph's wisdom in storing grain during the years of plenty saved not only Egypt but also his family and many others from famine. His leadership and gift of interpreting dreams were essential to this great salvation. Over time, Joseph's family grew and prospered in Egypt. They remembered God's promise to their ancestors and how Joseph played a crucial role in fulfilling that promise. They saw how the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob multiplied and became a great nation. The story of Joseph reminds us that even in difficult times of betrayal, God is always working to turn evil into good and fulfill his promises. Joseph's life is an example of faith, forgiveness, and God's constant providence. And so we conclude our journey through the incredible story of Joseph, a powerful example of faith, resilience, and the transformative power of forgiveness. We have seen how God turned Joseph's adversities into blessings, not only for him but for his entire family and many others. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future inspiring stories. Thank you for joining us until the end. Until next time, everyone, may God bless you.